All right, welcome to another Zoom call. A number of questions, so let's jump right in. Reminder to all you that are new, go to the member site, use the member site. I try to put his announcements and such in the member site, including one that we have today, which is talking about the TrueRife version 6.2. So TrueRife updated to 6.1 earlier this year, and I was very hesitant to use it because it had a lot of bugs in it. So anybody that started with us and got a Rife from us prior to last week, it got 6.0. Um, and because 6.1 just had too many bugs. Now they've upgraded to 6.2 as of last week, and you can't download 6.0 or 6.1 any longer. So anybody that's new that got a Rife this week or last week, there it will be version 6.2. Now I have on our member site and on the Rife resources page on the members homepage and on the frequency site have some warnings. So you could go and download 6.2. And if you do, it's going to wipe out your programs, just so you know. So you're going to have to send your computer. If you do that, you're going to have to send your computer back to us because we have to put your programs in, and it's a totally different operation. Your programs that any programs that were created for you, or that you created yourself, but anything that we created for you would be in a different folder. So for those who just got their Rife, I don't know if anybody's on here who just got a Rife and is running 6.2. Well, you already know that. So I actually created a video for people who are running 6.2, and it's on the member site in a couple of places and on the frequency course as well. So this video explains how you would get to your personal program, and it's just two extra steps. It's no big deal if you've never used the Rife before, but if you're used to version 5.0, or for people who have been with us a long time, or you're used to version 6.0, which we upgraded everybody to in 2001, then it would be two extra steps. You go, oh, well, this is dumb. I have to do two extra steps. But it's just they're hoping to get it changed in by version 6.4. There's some positive upgrades. It was very frustrating week last week because multiple Rifes that we got shipped to us had bad boards, and we're fighting with that till we figured that out. And version 6.2 was an upgrade, and that was a big giant pain in the TUI box too. So we got it all figured out now. Jake at TrueRife has been a wonderful help. He's just been, really trying to get everything working correctly. They just upgraded, some things on 6.2 for us. So I'm very thankful for what they're doing. I do think I do think the 6.2 is going to have more, um, possible uses, and the programs are the same. Understand? So the programs. So don't think, oh, I should upgrade to 6.2 because the programs are going to be better, more powerful. No, the programs are all the same. There's no new programs. They're not better. They're not more powerful. It's just what they're trying to get to do with the Rife in the future. So they're going through these program changes. So my suggestion again is if you're running 6.0, continue to do so. But moving forward, if your computer goes kapooey and we need to get a new computer, it's going to have to be in 6.2, or maybe 6.3 or 6.4, depending on when that happens. Maybe it'll be a totally different version, and this will be a new point. But and then secondly, moving forward, We were trying to keep our costs down for our patients. And if you wanted a new computer, we were able to sell those at a lower fee. They only had 4 or 8 RAM, I think, which was fine to run the Rife. Goodness sakes, I run my Rife at home on a Windows 7 computer. So it's not that you need a lot of RAM to run your Rife program. But moving forward, we are going to use true Rife computers, and they are much more stealthful. It just, especially with the new 6.2 software, it runs better on a computer that is got a little bit more juice to it. So that the cost is going to be the same as the cost of TrueRife. But if you do get a new computer from TrueRife, you're still going to have to send it to us in order for us to put on your programs, because it's a little complicated on our part. We have to create a new file, and we have to put your programs in that file, in the document file. Too hard to explain. But it's not something you could do. We can't just send you a flash drive to do that anymore. So that's not going to be possible. So in the 6.2 programs, 6.2 program, it's not going to be as easy to send you a flash drive. Now, you could do it if you're really super computer savvy. But for most people, you're going to send your computer back to us. Okay. That being said, you can watch that video. It's on the master page. No need for you to do it, but just for you to get a better idea what I'm talking about. Okay, first question. These are some of last week's questions. Since it didn't get recorded, my doctor is saying that I should cut back on vitamin A because my liver enzymes are going up. I'm taking the ADK 3 times a day, and he wants my vitamin D lower. It's at 123. Are these numbers okay? He also thinks green tea can be hard on the liver, but I don't want to cut back on the T-Vigo. Thank you. I would say that you're taking 3 a day of the vitamin ADK. That's 15,000 IUs of D. I'm not concerned with the A. That's a good source A in the ADK. So I'm not concerned with the A in there. So I disagree with your doctor politely. And I'm not saying that you need to decrease your D, but 123 is good. It's right where you're at, but maybe you don't need, and I said last week, you could probably drop down to 2 or 1 of those a day. I do agree that green tea extract can be hard on your liver because 90% of green tea extract sold in America is loaded with toxins. The T-Vigo is not. So I would not cut back on the T-Vigo. So that is not going to be hard on your liver. I sent in blood work over the weekend. The inflammation markers are and keep getting higher. Do you have any suggestions? My CA15-3 with 196 points in 2 weeks, and the CA27-29 went down 179 points in 2 weeks. I sent the results of the PET scan also. This is the first one, so it's a baseline. Can cancer die-off cause inflammation? Trying to sort things out. So what could cause inflammation? Well, if a person's doing mistletoe therapy, that could cause inflammation. If you have a lot of die-off, that certainly can cause inflammation because die-off will produce endotoxins that you have to deal with. If you have there's other possible reasons for inflammatory processes, and what's typically measured as and gives person indication that they're inflammatory markers, is C-reactive protein. So C-reactive protein, CRP, is really is a measurement of breakdown of inflammatory cytokines. So it tells you that there's some inflammatory process going on, which can be a good thing. It can be. So remember, initial inflammatory processes are an immune reaction. So it can be an immune reaction. Your body is actually working to the cancer. That's why something that's like mistletoe therapy that's going to stimulate a strong immune reaction can cause increased inflammatory markers. My surgeon's cancer mutation report for my colorectal tumor biopsy showed I had a KRAS mutation. So KRAS genes do a number of different things, but they also function as tumor suppressor genes. So also the surgical pathology exam showed the cancer to be an adenocarcinoma. This is the carcinoma that is categorized by low levels of catalase enzymes. I ran across several papers where KRAS gene variants and cancers with low catalase are good candidates for IV vitamin C. I said last week that I wasn't sure of that, but you showed these reports in the study, so it's very interesting. I love my patients. You guys do more study than anybody out there, so good news. So, and I did say last week, because it did get recorded, that your program is written for adenocarcinoma because that's what came up in your testing. So I did look up your Dr. Susan account and looked at that. So that's good. So remember, KRAS mutations are one of the tumor suppressor genes. So there's numerous gene families that function as tumor suppressor genes, and the gene families also have other functions other than tumor suppression. So remember what a tumor suppressor gene does. So they are genes in your body, in the cells, that if the cell starts to go through rapid replication because of something, remember, what's a cause of cancer? Something that gets inside the cell. It can be a toxin, can be a virus, can be a bacteria, can be, a fungus, can be anything that gets inside the cell that damages the DNA, and then the cell starts to go into rapid replication, and it replicates cells that are also damaged in that DNA and are in a state of rapid replication. When that happens, it should kick on your tumor suppressor genes. Most common one that maybe you may have heard of is the P53 gene. That's the most researched tumor suppressor gene, the first one that ever was discovered. But also the BRCA gene. Everybody's heard of that. So BRCA genes are tumor suppressor genes. If you have a lot of defects in your tumor suppressor genes, like your BRCA genes, should you just get your organs removed? Well, I think that's absolutely idiotic, but people have done that. They have multiple double allele defects in their tumor suppressor genes, so they just get their breasts removed or their ovaries removed. I just don't understand that logic. A tumor suppressor gene doesn't cause cancer. A tumor suppressor gene, though, if you have defects on that gene, it cannot kick in so that it won't stimulate a part of cancer death. So there's two processes of programmed cell death, apoptosis. There's an intrinsic apoptosis that takes place actually when a tumor suppressor gene kicks on. It kicks on an intrinsic apoptotic reaction. So the cell goes into morphine and blebbing and destruction and basically recycling, breakdown of that cell. Believe me, that happens every single day with people, every day. And if it didn't, we'd all be dead of cancer by the time we were 5 years old. It's happening every single day. So just because you have a KRAS mutation doesn't mean you're going to have cancer. Just because you have BRCA mutation does not mean you're going to have cancer. But it does decrease that intrinsic. Now, when we're working with the right, when we're working with the immune system, we're trying to stimulate cancer death. We're working on, and it's the only way you can, is you're working on the extrinsic apoptotic pathways. So the extrinsic apoptotic pathways are from the outside of the cell. You're trying to get that cell to go through cell death. So this reminds me, I gotta make a note. I'm gonna send you, did I already do that? Ed, you're on the call. Did I send you the other things that will help with KRAS mutations that are known? I think it was curcumin and some other things, but I won't do that again.
You made a note of it on the last call.
Last week was it was so discombobulated last week. I apologize. My computer didn't work and it cut out at the end. And then we had so much trouble with those Rife machines. It was a rather stressful week. I had to take a whole bunch of adaptogens. But not that it's important for you guys, but I will send you that clip.
Okay, thank you.
I sent in lab results. My inflammatory markers are high. I have been on prednisone for a couple of days. Can I send a cheek swab in? And I may mention that it might be better to wait till you're off the prednisone. What's the best type of glutathione to take and where should you get it? And can a person who has estrogen-driven cancer take it? The best type of glutathione is liposomal glutathione. You can get it from us. We have the liposomal GlutaClear, but there's multiple companies that carry liposomal glutathione. Typically, any nutrient that's wrapped in a fat, you'll have much better absorption, and that's the key. If you can take a supplement and you don't absorb it, you just deposit in the toilet, it's completely worthless. So you have to have good absorption. And glutathione, when it first came out, did not have good absorption. They've improved it multiple times, and now with the advent of liposomal glutathione, that's by far the best. Oh, here I did. So last week I copied and pasted it right on here. Now I remember. So possible interventions with KRAS mutations are glutamate scavenger, EGCG, which is green tea extract catechins, curcumin, a keto-like diet, time-restricted eating. And I would also add the possibility of enzyme therapy to that too. Dr. Kelly's enzyme therapy. I might add that to that too. So Dr. Kelly's enzyme therapy is, I think, Ed, you know what that is. But what that is using high dose enzymes on an empty stomach. So you recommended using protein zyme powder for me. I do not like it. Please recommend an effective substitute for protein zyme in capsule or tablet form. Well, the problem with taking a protein powder in itself is that I don't think taking a protein powder is as good as just eating some protein. So because you can have 2 scoops of a protein powder and you still only get maybe 20, 25 grams of protein. So, well, that's good. You know, if you're eating a smoothie anyhow, you can throw that in there. So it's great. Now, you know, I always take my smoothie maybe daily. So if I add the protein powder, I'm just getting protein. So it's hard for me to eat the piece of chicken, you know, at that same time because my stomach's full. So then you add the protein powder. It's not going to make you any more full. The problem with putting it in a capsule form, 2 scoops or a scoop of protein powder, even that would be 10 capsules, you know. So it's, I don't, you know, there may be some protein powders that come in capsule form, but you have to take a lot of capsules to be equivalent. So I will look for you for that. The protein zyme is in vanilla or chocolate. The other protein powders that I think are good, we carry one from Designs for Health that I think is good. It doesn't taste any. I mean, I know all of them have the same flavor. So I don't know if you'll find one that you like as far as powder goes. My recent blood test shows some anemia. I think you may have said that taking an iron supplement for someone with Hodgkin's lymphoma was all right. Would Blood Builder by Megafoods be fine for about 30 days? So let's look at this. So this person was kind enough to give the ingredients of this Blood Builder by Megafoods. Okay, so iron as fermented iron bisglycinate. Good. That means it's a double bond to glycine. So that's a good form of iron right there. Okay. It's a whole food, good form of iron. Well, the good news stops right there, unfortunately, because B12 as cyanocobalamin is the wrong, that's a synthetic B12. That's not the form of B12 you want. You never want to take something with cyanocobalamin. And then this gets even worse. Folate as folic acid. Ah! Folic acid is synthetic folate, which many have hypothesized, scientists have hypothesized the increase of the use of synthetic folate, which is folic acid, has what has caused the MTHFR defects in people. So this should be outlawed. I mean, literally, this product, folic acid, should be outlawed. So any company still using folic acid, They're in the dark ages. This is really bad. This is what's actually added to enriched foods that makes it so bad for you. Vitamin C is ascorbic acid. It's only 15 milligrams. It's probably incidental. Organic beetroot, that's fine. Food blend, that's fine, good. These two things, this especially is poison. So do not take this. Take our clear iron. Use that product instead of clear iron. Also, eating foods that are beetroot is good for you. That's a good thing to help build your blood, especially this time of year. You can get that readily. Come over to my house. I have it growing in my garden. On my recent swab testing, you added Clear GI to my supplements. But on the store, it says those with cancer should not take this product. Yes, I wrote that. Just curious why it is for me. Because we have to heal your gastrointestinal tract. So this is the best gut healing product on the market with the least amount of glutamine. That's why we private labeled it. And we've been using that product for, gosh, 15 years. Great product. I don't give it to cancer patients willy-nilly. Very few people I recommend it for. It tested well on you for your gut. It's not going to be something you're going to be on for long term. It has a low enough glutamine that I'm not concerned about it right now. And it's just got so many other really good gut healing nutrients in there. So also, how do I know when my gut is healed? Well, we don't know when your gut is healed. We're just gonna have to have another communication in a minimum of a month. You have to give yourself a month to 6 weeks. And the truth is that how do I know when my gut is healed? Your gut is never healed. It's constantly breaking down and being damaged by what's the number one thing that damages your gut wall? Pesticides, GMO foods, glyphosate, food sensitivities. And if you're eating foods that you have antibodies to, let's say you have antibodies to gluten and you're eating gluten, every time you eat gluten, you're causing an inflammatory process in your gut and your brain and your skin and elsewhere, your lungs, and there's no way you could heal it. So you have to look at food antibodies. That's the benefit of doing the Cyrex 3x4 Ray 10 test. The Ray 10 tests 100 different foods, different ones cooked and raw. And it tells you if you have food antibodies to different foods that you need to lay off of for a period of time. It tells you really, if your gut is an issue, so that we need to work on. So there's other reasons why a person can have problems, but certainly the gut wall is one of them. So getting that tested. So that's why we want you to eat organic. That's why we want you to stay away from GMO foods. That's why you don't want to be on, you want to try to avoid medication that's going to damage your gut as best you possibly can. Well, sometimes there's no way of getting around those things. And even if you eat perfect and do everything perfect, you're still going to be exposed to different chemicals, different toxins, different cross-reacted things, pesticides that are in organic foods even, that are going to damage your gut. So we're never completely healed. It's always a process. So that's a thing to remember. So we'll check back. And so when you add food, when you do the Array 10, let's say on the Cyrex Array 10, and you have yellow things and things in the yellow, things in the red, that means they're positive. Meaning you have antibodies to that food, and you stay off them for a period of time, and you start adding things back that are in the yellow range, and you're watching for any reaction in your body. That's one way to do it. You're slowly adding things back. Another way to do it is to recheck and do another test. So that's another way to check those things. And the truth is, we could take 1,000 people off the street and run the Cyrex Array 10 on them. And I would bet that almost 1,000 would have some issues. That's how prevalent this has become in our society, because especially in America, you go over to Europe, you know, because of the mad cow disease giant scare that people died of in the 80s, literally everything is organic over there. There's nothing that is, all GMOs and everything are banned. So, but America allows these things, and we're suffering because of it. The rate of autoimmune disease is going through the roof, and it just has gotten to the point where it's not, boy, I hope I don't get an autoimmune disease. It's, I wonder which one I'm going to get, because because of our environment, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but just about everybody's going to have an autoimmune disease in the United States. So that's why I wrote that course on the chronic disease and autoimmune. And that's why I think it would be valuable for, even though you're dealing with cancer, if you're not in a crisis mode with cancer, it'd be good to start going through some of that information. I asked a question on Dr. Jen's Facebook group. Dr. Jen is a practitioner in Pennsylvania or Virginia or something over there. She just interviewed me for her breast cancer thing that's coming out in January. So I just talked to her. I've interviewed her on my podcast a couple times. I think she's interviewed me a couple times. I really like her. She was a breast surgeon who just gave it up because she just said, I'm doing more harm than good. And she wanted to help people in a different way. She just was led to help people in a natural way. She's learning functional medicine and trying to help people that way. Asked a question of her on her Facebook group about hormone blockers to reduce tumors, and if it works, even though estrogen doesn't cause cancer. Dr. Jen said that estrogen positive cancer tumors mutated themselves by making more estrogen receptors and therefore decreasing estrogen temporarily through like aromatase inhibitors may temporarily shrink bulky tumors. This made sense because I remember my oncologist even saying that sometimes the aromatase inhibitors stop working. I then asked her if circulating tumor cells and any cancer found in the lymph nodes will have the same receptors as the original tumor. She said not always, which is true. So you could have cells at the same cancer cells at different spots that may not be ER positive, PR positive, or HER2 positive or negative as what they biopsied. That's not uncommon. And so I am trying to figure out when to stop the hormone blockers because I do not intend to take them forever. And I think this person's oncologist wants them to take it forever because I think that's kind of what's typically recommended. My mastectomy is next week, and I'm supposed to take another round of hormone blockers this Friday. Can you tell me if Dr. Jen's explanation makes sense, and if I am making a reasonable assumption that any circulating tumor cells or possibly lymph node involvement, I won't know until after the surgery if that's true, would have any extra receptors? Will they be ER positive? Yeah, I don't know what the percentage of that possibility is. I don't think anybody can tell you that. I'm thinking it's a reasonable assumption that the blockers would possibly protect me until we can take a closer look at why this mutation occurred in the first place. I hate the effects of the blockers. In the long term, I'm convinced they're harmful, and I want to do what's best. Then I'll send you a cheek swab 3 days after surgery, as we discussed, to see if the hormones are still coming up with the cause. I think you're just another example of you guys just being so brilliant and doing your homework and trying to figure this out yourself. Bottom line, I know Dr. Jen mentioned that you just gotta trust your gut. I wouldn't necessarily use that terminology. I really think you just need to pray about it and listen to the Holy Spirit and what He's telling you to do. Sometimes, I mentioned to a person today, sometimes God allows trials in our life. I know God doesn't tempt us to sin, but that does allow trials in our life for the purpose of molding us and shaping us more to the image of His Son. That's what sanctification is. He allows struggles in my life to mold me and shape me to be more like Jesus. And sometimes I'm embarrassed of the results of the trials because I don't act more like Jesus, and God has to teach me another way. But that's what his goal is. You become a believer, is to mold you and shape you to be more like his son. And sometimes trials drive us to a deeper relationship with him so that we can get answers that we need, or just trust him in a deeper way that we've never had to trust him ever before in that way. It's easy in America to call yourself a Christian and you never go through struggles, never go through problems. You think about the, the the Christians in other countries. Just this morning on Mission Network News, I was listening to 6 people in Libya. That Libya is a Muslim country. 6 people that have become Christians that will soon become executed just for their faith. But we don't go through any of that kind of stuff. And I know cancer is another type of trial, but all our trials are to drive us to him in a closer relationship to him. I've always wanted to know why they say if you've never been pregnant or breastfed, then you have a higher risk for cancer. Both true in my case. Why is that? Because if you've been pregnant and especially if you've breastfed, you've used the cells, the lactation cells, for the purpose that they're created. And by breastfeeding, and they've been done studies, women who breastfeed longer have a lower risk. So if you stop breastfeeding at 3 months and wean your baby at 3 months versus breastfeeding for 2 years, and the baby naturally weans off when that baby doesn't want to breastfeed anymore, those women have a lower risk of breast cancer. And it has to do with the use of the breast tissue. So when you use the breast tissue and it's functioning the way it's supposed to function and creating milk, then you do have a lower risk of cancer. Would GCMAF injections be a possibility for me? This person is somebody I talked to recently, had a neck cancer, either before or after chemo. Possibly, yes. The inherent problem with GCMAF is the question whether the current manufactured GCMAF is the same as what was manufactured in Europe a decade or so ago that got shut down, I don't know, 7 years ago or something like that. And they just got shut down, and the owners, I think, got jailed. Well, then it started to be created again in a lab, started creating it again in, I think, the Philippines. And there's argument that it's not the same. But I know there's practitioners that use it. So I don't know. We can't use it here in this office, but I know there's practitioners who use it. They think that it works well. So you mentioned that it's too late to fight the cause, but time to fight the cancer. Let's make sure we understand. It's never too late to fight the cause. It's never too late to deal with cause. So let's say my cause of my cancer was a toxicity. Well, if something remember, cancer is something gets inside the cell. It could be anything that gets intracellular, inside the cell, and damages the DNA. It damages the DNA and causes the DNA to go into rapid replication, replicating cells that are in rapid replication now with that same damaged DNA. Now, getting rid of the cause is important. You detox that, you get rid of that, so it doesn't get in another cell and cause cancer again. A totally different cancer. So it's so important to deal with the cause. Plus, cause is more than just what specifically damaged the DNA. Causes, why did I have a suppressed immune system? Why is my parasympathetic system down? Well, that's why people under a greater amount of stress have an increased incidence of cancer. So there's lots of pieces to that cause too that you have to deal with, that you are dealing with, that we make you guys deal with when we're trying to treat the cancer. So you are dealing with the cause. So don't, I didn't say it's too late to fight the cause. You are dealing with the cause, but you also have to kill the cancer cells. So just because, let's say I could wave a magic wand. Let's say the cause of my cancer was toxin. And if I waved a magic wand and the toxins were all in my body, just like that, well, the cancer's still growing. So the damaged DNA, the damage was done. It's not continually damaging. The damage was done. So I still have to kill the cancer. So just because that's why, I mean, otherwise we would just be detoxing you guys and you wouldn't use a rife and you wouldn't stimulate your immune system. And we wouldn't be talking about mistletoe. We wouldn't be talking about possibly chemotherapy. We wouldn't have to fight the cancer because it would just go away. So, but it doesn't work that way. Once the damage of the DNA is there, you still have to kill the cancer. So understand, you have to deal with the cause. And if you don't, it's to your demise. You are, all our patients are, but we also have to kill the cancer. So in your book, you mentioned Laetrile needs time to build up to therapeutic doses. Well, that's true. Really, everything does. You start taking mushrooms, it's going to take a few weeks to get really to therapeutic doses, meaning that builds up in your body to really start killing the cancer. Same thing with Laetrile, but I think in the book I said that because there was a study about that. Would that be something that it's too late to do? Something I don't have time for? No, I would say no. I would say there's still time for that. My glyphosate test came back still very high. After 2 years of detoxing eating organic, does this surprise you at all? How can I get rid of this? You know, this is really sad because um, this is what we were talking about before. Was that you could eat perfectly and all you eat is organic. Why would I possibly have glyphosate test high? Because the truth is you could get glyphosates, through organic food. It's cross-contaminated. You could get glyphosates from, sprayed, in public places. They're sprayed for weeds and things. So it's so prevalent in our society. That's why I said this is why the rate of cancer has gone through the roof. This is why the rate of autoimmune diseases have gone through the roof. The rate of chronic illness has gone through the roof, because we are being systematically poisoned. And there isn't like a perfect way to get rid of glyphosates. So we just continue to work on detox pathways and continue to support detoxification. Now we're dealing with this forever chemicals that are in everything. They just tested toilet paper. Every toilet paper they tested had forever chemicals in it. What is going on? It's like they're doing it on purpose or something. I didn't say that. I just said it's like they're doing it on purpose or something. It's insane. So it gets depressing, and you just got to go, nope, I'm not going to get down about it. I just got to keep doing everything I know to do that's right and leave the results to God. That's the only way that you can deal with such insanity. Well, I haven't seen the actual lab yet. My sister was called by LabCorp that I am anemic and iron was very low, not so low for an ER visit. So an ER visit, if your iron is low, they'll look at your hemoglobin. So if your hemoglobin is below 7.5, then you do need to get in and get a transfusion. If your hemoglobin is still 10, but your iron is low, your red blood cell count is low, then you don't need an infusion, but then you do have to think of supporting the low iron. Also, in your case, and you have to look at, is there any possible bleeding because of your type of cancer? So you always want to, whenever you have anemia, you always want to ask, whenever you have anything, you want to ask the question, what question? Why? Can you have anemia in cancer because cancer is gobbling up some iron? Yes, you can. Can you have anemia for any reason because you're losing red blood cells through bleeding? Yes. So you do want to investigate that. Maybe you want to do an occult blood test, which is a swab, a stool sample swab on occult uh, little blood test for that. It's very simple, and see if that's a cause. So we need to look at that also. But not low enough. They called also my B12 was low. I do have a partial MTHFR defect. This is the first time she has ever called by a lab with a warning for a patient. So the B12 being low, that would be a concern too. You could have B12 anemia. That would be good. It would be better. It's better. It's easier to correct. Getting some B12 would be just fine. I would suggest the hydroxycobalaminate or the adenosylcobalamin. Besides eating liver, etc., I noticed there are products online for ancestral and heart soil where they have freeze-dried, grass-fed blood, liver, spleen, bovine products. These seem to be promising. I got some. I think those are fine. Any other suggestions? Sorry, don't have actual lab results yet. I'm not sure what is driving this. I was having blood in stool regularly, but since June 15th, I've only seen it twice. So let's see those labs and then we'll go from there. Glyphosate 2.5. That's just very frustrating with the glyphosate. Is it safe to put castor oil packs on swollen lymph nodes? You can try it. Everybody's a little bit different how you'll function with castor oil and or function with heat over swollen lymph nodes. And the reason is some people's bodies react in a negative way to it. So I'd just go slow and try it for a couple minutes and then see how you react and then slowly add time. Some people do better with heat. Some people do better with cold. Now you use heat over castor oil packs. Some people don't do well with castor oil packs over lymph nodes. Some people do well. So you just have to try it. Regarding the GCMF, the owner is now out of jail second time, even after being extradited to France by the UK. I believe the UK-based lab called First Immune is now manufacturing GCMF. That would be fantastic. Again, also an Ecuadorian naturopath has supply available for shipment in the US. Well, thank you for that. This is a good information. So whoever's looking for that, ask that question, can copy that address down and look that up. Should I get the after surgery supplements and start taking them right after surgery or wait for the cheek swab? Wait for the cheek swab because that might change with you. So I'd wait for the cheek swab. Okay. Any last questions here? All right, we will call it a night. Thank you for being on today. Know that I'm praying for all of you and keep fighting the good fight. Night night.